5 months into the investigation, after dozens of searches, hundreds of pieces of evidence logged, suddenly a bullet fragment appears. In episode 20, we wrapped up the testimony of investigator Tom Fassbender. And under cross examination, defense attorney Jerry Buting called out this glaring absence of physical evidence tying Teresa Halbach to Stephen Avery's trailer or garage. No blood, no DNA, no hair, nothing. Just nothing. But then, 4 months after the initial searches, suddenly they find a bullet fragment. And it just happens to line up with Brendan Dassey's quote-unquote confession. The defense also pushed Fassbender on how that confession seemed to guide where and when new evidence appeared, and why law enforcement kept re-entering the Avery property long after it was given back to the family. Now we move on to the next pieces of the puzzle. In this episode, we meet two witnesses connected to another major break: the discovery of Teresa Halbach's license plates. This episode will be a quick one because we're wrapping up day 5 of the trial. The following episode will be out shortly after this one because at the beginning of day 6, episode number 22, we will hear from John Ertl from the DNA Analysis Unit, Wisconsin State Crime Laboratory, who investigated the RAV4 as part of the field response team. His testimony is also quite long, and that will probably run over a couple of episodes. So let's get started with the testimony of William Brandis Jr., and the direct examination is begun by the prosecutor, Ken Kratz. Mr. Brandis, thank you for coming. And can you tell the jurors, please, from what community you come? Brillion, Wisconsin. And I think everybody knows where Brillion is, but in case they don't, tell the jurors where Brillion is located. Right near the Manitowoc-Calumet border, right in Calumet County, about 15 miles from here. Mr. Brandis, on the 8th of November of 2005, were you asked and did you in fact participate in a volunteer search of the Avery salvage yard? Yes, I did. And in what capacity did you assist in that search? I was with a group of state troopers and other volunteer firemen, I believe, searching a search section of the Avery junkyard. Were you assigned or paired up with somebody? I don't know about paired up, but there was a group of maybe 10 of us, maybe a few more. Were there, again, from what organization were you volunteering? The Brillion Fire Department. Were there any sworn law enforcement officers in your group? Yes, the Wisconsin State Troopers were with us. All right, and again, about how many people were in your search team? Roughly 10, maybe a few more. Do you know how many volunteer or firefighter and law enforcement searchers were involved on the 8th? Quite a few, not offhand. Okay. What were your responsibilities that day? What did you do? We were just given a section to search and search every vehicle very thoroughly around it and see if there was anything that looked out of place or might seem suspicious. And we were also instructed that they were looking for certain items. What the victim had been wearing, a certain shirt and jeans, that might be that. And license plates they were looking for. And there was some, I think that was about it. Boy, he kind of added those license plates as an afterthought, didn't he? All right. Did you assist and did you help perform searches of these vehicles? Yes. Tell the jury what kind of searches these were. How did you search the vehicles? You just slowly go over each vehicle, and there were multiple people going over them. Go inside them. If you couldn't get the trunk open, some of them pried the trunk open. Or you just looked through them real good. Anything like clothing or something, you actually took it out and probably handled it. looked around, looked under stuff if you could, just to find out what you could find. Okay, again, I have to pause here. I thought that someone had already gone through and pried open all of these trunks. Why did they have to try and pry open these trunks if that was already done? You'd think they'd already be available to them. Now, granted, yes, they could have shut them afterwards, but it just sounds interesting to me. And the fact that they're finding clothing and they're actually handling handling it. Um, yeah, you'd think that if there was a trooper or some kind of law enforcement with the group that would not be okay. All right, sorry about that. Let's just continue. About how many vehicles did you search that day personally? Do you recall? Yeah, quite a few, maybe 50. All right, maybe more. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Do you remember the area, or was there a specific area that you were assigned to search? Yes. What area was that? As you went in, it was more to the right, around the back of a shed and toward kind of like a fence line that was on the Avery property. You have some photos in front of you. Is that right? Yes. First photo, I think it's exhibit 139. Is that right? I have no numbers. Let's look on the back. Oh, sorry. There you go. Yep, 139. Thank you. Can you tell the jury what is exhibit 139, please? That is the station wagon I found the license plates in. You recognize the photo in 139. Is that right? Yes. We're just going to talk about that one first for a minute. Going to show the jury now what's been identified as exhibit number 139. And if you could refer to the large screen up here for us, tell us what we're looking for. There's a laser pointer if that will help you. You are actually looking, I don't know what the direction is. I think it's toward the south, but there's a road they are standing on. That's the edge of the property, and it's right along a fence line that kind of contains the property. And from where you are standing to your left would be the entrance to the property. You would actually go through that and around that blue building to come in. That's the way we came in. Do you recognize this station wagon? Yes. Did you search or look in this station wagon? Yes. Tell the jury how you did that, please. I was just walking along. I was actually on the driver's side searching, and there were a bunch of weeds. We crawled through the weeds and looked in. And I looked, I peered in the back and behind what would be the passenger side seat. The back seat was folded down flat, and behind the passenger side seat was a set of what ended up to be license plates. But at that time were folded like in three different, folded twice inward, so you could not see a number or anything on them. The license plates were folded. Describe that for me. Like if you take them and fold them in with one thumb and then fold the other one on top again, so they were like pinched together. The plates were folded? Yes. Were you wearing any protective items on your hands at the time? I just gloves that I had owned. All right, you had gloves on? Yeah. What did you do when you found that item in this vehicle? I picked them up, and when I figured out they were license plates, I had slowly peeled them open. Oh my God, seriously? Come on. Is there not a police officer there? I had slowly peeled them open, and I wasn't quite sure with the number on them, but I thought I had something. So there was a state trooper next to me, and I asked her what the number was. She repeated it because she had written it down. That number, what number are you talking about? The license plate number inside. Because they were folded in, you couldn't read them until I unfolded them. And when she confirmed that them were the license plates we were looking for, I gently set them back down inside the car. Did you call over the law enforcement officer, the trooper, to then take over or take control of the plates? Yes, she was actually like standing right next to me. Oh my God, seriously? Oh, okay. Let's continue. Okay. After the plates were set back down, do you recall a photograph being taken of those? Yes. And how did that occur? Do you know? They rode in and there were a bunch of people that came in. We actually didn't move, and I think an investigator came in and photographed it. Okay. We have put another picture in front of you. What is that? It's number 140. Is that right? Yes. That was taken from I believe, the passenger side, kind of right over the fence. And that's where they were laying, right in there in the back of the seat or on the seat in the back. Does that show the interior of the vehicle, the location where you found the plates? Yes. And now I will have the jury look at exhibit number 140, referring to the large exhibit then. Can you tell us what that is? That's on like right under that fence wire would be where the plates were located. Why don't you take that laser pointer? And I know this may not be comfortable for you, but show us where you found the plates. Right in that general area there. And they were folded in thirds? Yes. And when you looked in that vehicle, could you see the license plate number or did you have to open them to see it? They had to be opened to be seen. Attorney Kratz then says, I think for this witness, Judge, that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Brandis. The court then says, Mr. Strang. And Stephen's attorney, Mr. Strang, begins his cross-examination. Let's go back to, how about Exhibit 86? Just for old time's sake, I guess. I'm going to show you an aerial view of a property, Mr. Brandis. All right. Now, yeah, I will take the laser pointer or pointer. Do you recognize Exhibit 86? Yes. Aerial view of the Avery property. South is up? Yes. Okay. And the area you are describing is somewhere down here? Yes. I'm probably blocking people, but at least I'm not blocking you. Attorney Kratz then says, Mr. Strang, do you want me to zoom in at all? Attorney Strang says, I will. And then Attorney Strang continues, can you see this? Well, I have to look around you, but I can make it out. Like my dad said, I would make a better door than a window. How's that? Sure. Okay. Now we can both see. So that's the little blue building that we saw in the two photos you have, or in the first photo that you have. Does that seem right, or is it actually down like that? I think the one you have, yeah, that's the building. So that station wagon is somewhere right there? Yes. Okay. Attorney Strang then says, why don't we zoom in on that if we can, Mr. Kratz? And then he continues his questioning. Is it possible to pick the station wagon out from here or no? I believe so. I believe it's next to, I will let you do that. I think that's it right there. Okay. Shaking it. Everybody does. And what we have got running, Attorney Strang then says, if we go back to, let's do 139 and then we'll go to 140, if you don't mind, Mr. Kratz. These are the two you just had. And then he continues. What you have got there is a barbed wire fence. Yes. Is that right? And the fence is between the road or the little gravel road. The photography appears to be on the station wagon in which you found the license plates? Yes. And then 140, Attorney Strang then says, any chance of 140 or are you on strike? Thank you. Attorney Strang then continues. We have got the barbed wire fence again? Yes. So you actually, to get to the station wagon, you would go in the entrance to the building or the business. I'm sorry. Yeah, we would have gone around the building and come around. You didn't come at this from that roadway? No. Okay. Have you ever seen a men's wallet called a trifold wallet? Yes. Was that sort of how the license plates exactly were? And you were saying on direct that, probably as you looked at these license plates, the most likely way to do that would be to take your thumb and bend it over from one end and then bend it over from the other again, I guess, with your hands. Yes. That's what it looked like to you? Yeah. Okay. And maybe you don't remember the license plate number, but so there's no mystery. Did you recall the license plate number being the one that you were told was on Teresa Halbach's car? I didn't have it written down. I had to ask the state trooper, and she had it written in a book. And when she looked, that's when I confirmed it was it. Maybe Trooper Cindy Paine? I believe that was her name. Okay. Attorney Strang then says, that's all I have for you. Really? Okay. The court says, anything else, Mr. Kratz? Attorney Kratz says, no, we'll call Trooper Cindy Paine next. And the court says, all right, the witness is excused. Counsel, how much time are we anticipating for the next witness? Attorney Kratz says, how much do I anticipate, or Mr. Strang? I will be 5 minutes, Judge. The court says, I'm going to be asking each of you. Attorney Strang says, I can't imagine I would be any longer than I was. And the court says, all right, we'll take the trooper. And then the trooper comes in, the clerk swears her in, she spells her name, and the direct examination by Attorney Kratz is begun. Miss Paine, how are you employed? I'm with the Wisconsin State Patrol. And what do you do with the State Patrol? I'm a trooper with the patrol. What do troopers do? We're generally do traffic and traffic enforcement, and we enforce the state laws of Wisconsin, the traffic laws. Do you on occasion assist with, and are you asked sometimes to assist in other general criminal investigative matters? Yes, we are asked by other agencies to assist with either perimeter searches, we secure perimeter, or we do searches. Trooper Paine, were you employed as a state trooper on the 8th of November, 2005? Yes, I was. And on the 8th of November, were you asked to participate and assist in some search efforts at a property that you have come to know as the Avery salvage yard? Yes, I have. Could you describe what your duties were at that Avery salvage yard that day? We were divided into several groups, and each individual group had an area to search. And I remained with this group, and I had searched the area. Do you recall what your group was comprised of? In other words, how many people were in your little group? I don't remember how many people, but I know there were troopers, there were deputies, there were firefighters, citizen volunteers. It wasn't one particular group. So not only was it just her, from what I understand, there were troopers and deputies and others in this group as well. Nobody said, hey, don't touch this. Okay, let's continue. What kind of searches were you doing? We were looking for specifically a license plate, jewelry, and camera equipment. Okay, a more directed, a more specific kind of search. Is that correct? All right. And in part of that search, do you remember how many vehicles you individually or your group searched? I would guess around 20. Do you remember how many volunteers and law enforcement officials were there to help in that effort that day? The whole day? That day. I mean, the whole search? No, I don't. How many people were involved in the search effort? Do you remember? I would guess over 90 troopers, okay, and inspectors. A lot of people? A lot of people. Were there a lot of cars? A lot of cars. All right. As part of this search, Trooper Paine, do you recall a person in your group being a gentleman by the name of William Brandis? Yes, I do. At some time during that search, do you recall being summoned by Mr. Brandis to a specific car? Yes, I was. Tell the jury what you saw, please. He had pointed out that he had found a license plate, and he said that it was the license plate we were looking for, and he had pointed it out to me. No, wait, wait a minute. How would he possibly know that it was the license plate? Because he specifically said he had to have her check. He didn't have that number. Let's find out. I didn't have it written down. I had to ask the state trooper, and she had it written in a book. And when she looked, that's when I confirmed it was it. Interesting. Let's continue. Did you look at the license plates? Yes, I did. We're going to have those marked. In fact, right now, Mr. Wiegert has been kind enough to put on a pair of gloves for us, and we're going to have these exhibits marked. And exhibit number 141 is marked for identification. But while he's doing that, tell me what you saw. I saw a license plate that had a bend in it, and it was in the back of a station wagon. You have got the driver compartment, and then where it would be from the driver's seat back is where the license plate was found. Did Mr. Brandis tell you what condition those plates were in when he found them? He told me that they were folded. He had to unfold them to verify, to see the plate number. Were you told, and did you know specifically the license plate number for Teresa Hallbach's vehicle that you were looking for? Yes. And did the license plates that you saw match the tag number or license plates of Teresa Hallbach? Yes. I'm just going to show you a photo. It's Exhibit 141. Tell the jury what that is, please. This is a photograph of the license plate the way I saw it when it was pointed out to me. Who took that photo? I did. Showing the jury now what's been identified by you as number 141, what are we looking at? We're looking at the license plate as it sat in the back of that station wagon in the condition that Bill had left it at. Bill Brandis? Yes. Who took this photo? I did. And so do you know that to be what you saw that day? Yes. The license plate, SWH-582, is that depicted in exhibit number 141? Yes, it is. And in fact, was that a match with the license plates that you were told you were looking for? Yes. Mr. Wiegert is going to hand you and show you two exhibit numbers now. I will bet they are 142 and 143. Detective Wiegert then says, I wouldn't touch them though. Attorney Kratz says, I'm wrong again. The clerk says 152 and 153. And then Attorney Kratz continues. Funny how they're so conscious about not touching the license plates right now in court. Anyway, Attorney Kratz continues. I'll first show you what is marked 152 and ask you to identify that, if you can, and tell the jury what it is. That would be the license plate that we were looking for, the registration number. All right. Attorney Kratz then says, Mr. Wiegert, could you show us and show the jury, please? And Attorney Kratz then continues. Now, the differentiation between these two, this 152, that actually has an expiration tag on it. Is that correct? That is correct. That would usually be the back plate or the front plate. That would be the rear plate. Yes. Show you number 153 now. Tell us what that is. And that would also be the license plate for the license plates we were looking for. Would that be the front plate or the back plate? That would be the front plate. And are you able to identify those? And they look the same or similar, other than being separated as they did on the 8th of November. Is that correct? That is correct. Attorney Kratz then says, Judge, we will move the admission of the photos and the two license plates at this time. Court says, any objection? Attorney Strang says, no objection. The court says, very well, the exhibits are received. Attorney Kratz then says, that's all I have. Thank you. And the court says, Mr. Strang. And Mr. Strang begins his cross-examination. Ma'am, I don't mean to make you feel left out, but I'm not going to ask you any questions. And the witness says, okay, thank you. Are you kidding me? Huh. Okay. The court then says, all right, the witness is excused. And I think with that witness, we're going to adjourn for today. And then he gives instructions to the members of the jury and excuses them. And this is actually for the weekend. Not that that matters for these trial transcripts, but excuses the jury. At this time, the jury is not present. And then the court says, counsel, I would like you to stop very briefly in chambers before leaving today. Attorney Kratz says, we'll do that. And the court says, just a second, the clerk has a few questions. And the clerk says, clerk, I think this was, Attorney Buting says, this was not marked, right? The clerk says, the court says, all right, just a minute. If you're going to say this is not marked and we're on the record, let's identify it. Attorney Buting says, this being DCI report number 180, which was Special Agent Fassbender's report that he refreshed his recollection on. It's not been admitted or not offered as an exhibit. It just got mixed in here. And the court says, so you do not wish it? Not only do you not want it admitted, you do not want it marked? Attorney Buting says, at this time, I don't see any need to. The court says, any objection? Attorney Kratz says, no. It was just used to refresh recollection, doesn't have to be an exhibit. Attorney Buting says 145 was marked and not able to be identified. I guess we leave that. The court says it will stay marked. Attorney Buting says we'll see if another witness identifies it or not. The clerk says, and my own question is, I know Attorney Strang is making a copy of that CD for one of the exhibits, and the other exhibit, 127, I think a copy of, let me find that one. It was a photo of the aerial view of Avery Road, and that I'm waiting for. Attorney Kratz says that you could not find from the previous hearing, and that's the one that you wanted us to make another copy of. And the clerk says, that's right. Attorney Kratz says, we promised to do that, Judge. The clerk then says, and then the 148, 149, 151, which were all photographs. Am I getting copies of those too? Attorney Kratz says, yes. Attorney Strang then says, I burned a copy of the CD, which is exhibit 126. And then when I opened it to make sure that the computer duped it, as it said, it had all of about 3 seconds on it. So I'm going to do that again this weekend. So that's why we don't have it yet. And the court says, all right, we're adjourned for today. Attorney Kratz says, thank you. And that is the end of this episode and that day's testimony. This episode gave us 2 key witnesses. William Brandis, the volunteer firefighter who found Teresa Halbach's folded up license plates, and Trooper Cindy Paine, who confirmed that they matched the vehicle's registration. Right? But here's where it gets messy, because Brandis admits to handling those plates before law enforcement ever secured the scene. He picked them up, he unfolded them, he literally altered their condition, and then handed the number or read the number or whatever he did over to a trooper so that she could confirm the match to Teresa's vehicle. Yes, he was wearing gloves, but not the kind issued by law enforcement, just his own personal pair. And that matters because cotton or leather gloves can hold onto DNA. It can shed fibers. It can transfer contaminants. They're not sterile, and they're definitely not designed to preserve the integrity of a potential murder scene. And the unfolding of the plates, this is not a small thing. You're physically manipulating a key piece of evidence, wiping away any chance to test for fingerprints or DNA on the original surface. That's not a search. That's contamination. And here's the kicker. The defense didn't even push this. Attorney Strang simply confirmed the basics, where the plates were, how they were folded, and that was pretty much it. He never challenged why Brandis was even allowed to touch the plates in the first place. And Trooper Paine, he didn't even ask her a single question. So once again, we're kind of left asking, how does this happen in a high-stakes murder trial? How is this the standard? In the next episode, we hear from a new witness, a DNA expert, John Ertl, and no idea where the state is going with this, but they do give him plenty of time on the stand. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back soon with John Ertl's testimony. Until then, be sure to share this with your true crime crew, the ones who binge transcripts like it's Netflix and yell at the defense team through their headphones. Been there? Talk soon. Bye for now.